Hello, and welcome to another Level Design Hall of Fame. I have a cold, and I'm trying to fight it. Hopefully that does not impede the video. So as you can tell, Super Meat Boy is the next game that I have inducted into this fictional Hall of Fame that does not exist. I just like making videos about games I like. And this gives me a chance to talk about them in depth. Or for 14 minutes, that too. One of the things I noticed is that it is hard to find games that have really great level design, because not all games even have level design. Like Tetris, that doesn't have a level, and I love puzzle games, so like that throws out a bunch. And then there are some games that like the level design is not the point. Like I'm not sure people play MMOs because like the actual levels are like fun to traverse. I'm sure the worlds are, but that's like a different thing. And then there are a lot of games that like have level design, but they're not great. They're not exemplary. And so I sort of find myself coming back over and over to a particular genre, which of course I love, and it's platformers. But platformers are the easiest ones to do videos on and to sort of point out as being awesome, because that's like the whole kit and caboodle. It's platforming, it's level design. Those two things go hand in hand, as well as the sort of jumping mechanics, if your game even has jumping. I'm sure some games have like the hook shot or whatever, but that's besides the point. The point is that it is probably like the most amount of examples of really awesome level design. Like it's just the easiest stuff to just pick out platformers. So yeah, here I am again with another platformer, but this one happens to be, I think, the sort of like the high watermark for like the last several years. Like this is still the gold standard. As much as I love Mario games were at their height forever ago, and recently they're still really great, but I feel like something like this and some other like really skill-intensive platformers, and even something like Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends, like I feel like they sort of raised the bar. And it's so fascinating to me that like all these games are like 2D, and yet they still find interesting ways to like add mechanics and to sort of like build upon using just 2D level design, jumping, and colors. And like that's and music, but like that's like another facet of games. Like it's still amazing that, like, people can like come up with like new interesting ideas and mechanics, and it's almost just like after hundreds of years, it's so interesting that people keep coming up with new types of paintings, and it's just a canvas and it's the same colors, and yet it's like, oh, surrealism and impressionism and Dadaism and minimalism and postmodernism, and that's, to me, that's like fascinating. It's like the same core set of tools, and people just sort of keep iterating over and over and over and over again, and we haven't run out of things to talk about. So yeah, as you've noticed for the last few minutes, this game has been on ×4 speed, and this is a world record run from whoever is the first person to do that on YouTube. So shout outs to that guy. It's very impressive, but I didn't want to show the game in regular motion, because then like there wouldn't be enough time to talk about like all of the levels and to play this awesome soundtrack. There's just so many levels, and like the game goes by so quickly, I figured like I might as well just put it in ×4, so even if you haven't played it, you won't really get spoiled because it'll all go by so fast. And if you really want to like watch it, there's obviously other ways to do that. If you really want to play it, go fucking play it. Go buy the game. It's amazing. It's probably super cheap right now because it's several years old. So, Super Meat Boy, very difficult platformer. Twitch reactions, wall bouncing, avoiding objects and enemies, and really the bread and butter of platformers is introducing an environmental speed bump, or just like a new mechanic or a new enemy or something to get around. And then it sort of like teaches you that concept, and then the next level it'll give you that plus an additional thing. So it's sort of like +1 model of level design, where it'll say, okay, here are turrets that shoot rockets at you. The rockets are homing. So you'll get through a level of that. Then they'll say, okay, so here's a new level with the same rocket turret, but this time there are bricks that you have to touch to disintegrate to get through. So now you have to worry about getting through that layer of bricks while rockets are being shot at you. Then it will add more bricks and more rockets, and then it will add that alongside saw blades. So it'll like keep adding more and more things, and so you're being taught how to deal with a few mechanics, and then later levels get more difficult because they add more of those mechanics together. So you're having to jump around saw blades while dodging the rockets, while having to get through the bricks to get to the end of the level. And they also add extra bonus challenges of collecting band-aids. They'll put them in very specific spots to either get you to try something risky and die, or to maybe say like, hey, this is like an alternate way to get through this if you really are up for it. Which again is like not new. I mean, that's been done forever ago. But God, I'm sick. Oh, my nose. But I really appreciate this game, not because you can just die over and over and just reset immediately. Like, it is just so fast-paced. Like, dying doesn't feel like a consequence or a negative. It feels like it's a positive. Like, you're supposed to die over and over. It's supposed to splatter the blood on places that you've been to show your progress, or to show sort of like what you might be doing wrong. And dying over and over is a learning experience, and it's helpful in a way that I don't feel like most games take. Like they take it for granted. Like, dying is just this thing that you have to do because it's almost like you wouldn't even have a game if like you don't have a sort of like fail state. Like, this is a thing that people complain about first-person walking simulator or narratively driven games. It's like there's no fail state, there's no challenge. You're just going from point A to point B, and you're getting a story. And it's like, well, that's not a game, that's just a visual novel, blah, blah, blah. Which is bullshit. But video games are interactive. So as long as you're moving, that's it. That's all you have to do. That's what a game is. It's not a choose-your-own-adventure novel. That's a fucking novel. But yeah, so Super Meat Boy takes this sort of fail state of something killing you, and it's completely different than just like, oh, I fell into a bottomless pit in Mario, and now I have to just make sure I jump over that bottomless pit. Because they'll just put bottomless pits randomly in all the levels, and it doesn't feel like those bottomless pits are there intentionally some of the times. Like, I feel like they just do that it's like, okay, you got a long jump, so you just gotta jump it. And then in 3 levels, you'll see another long jump. Where I feel like in this game, like, everything is so specifically there on purpose to either make the level flow really well, where it's like they want you to run as fast as possible and jump at the certain exact time they want you to, or the mechanics are there intentionally so that you have to go through a certain sequence, and it's like, it's astonishing how, like, they can progressively show you new ideas and keep building upon the mechanics that they introduce over and over and over, and it never feels tiresome, it never feels boring. And the thing I think I love the most about this game is that there's like a light world and a dark world version of every level, so you get like essentially like what you think are these challenging levels, but really they're the easy versions, and so they'll like actually make the levels intentionally harder by changing it up in certain ways or adding more stuff, but it's the same basic layout. So it's like you can really master the game by going through all the light worlds and then going through all the dark worlds, which is really cool. It's almost like this weird New Game Plus thing, but it's like optional. It's like there for you to like sort of like ease into, okay, I was able to beat the first world's dark world, and so now I'm going to go replay the light world for World 2 and try to get A pluses and try to get all the band-aids so that I can be prepared for the dark world World 2. And the thing that they do that is so fucking amazing is that a lot of these like dark world levels they make in these gorgeous monochromatic color layouts. Well, they'll only use like lights or shadows or like one basic color and contrast that with the background. And so it's just like, it is like the most pure distilled down platforming ever, where there is almost like there's just nothing to prevent you from looking at like what are your obstacles and what is the end goal. So it's like all the saw blades and lasers and things that are trying to eat you, they all just look fucking gorgeous. And to me, that is just like the most pure video game. It's like there's no bullshit, there's no fat, there's no one talking to you, it is just you're running, you're jumping, and it is just two solid colors, and it is this intricately laid out level. And to me, that is just like, that is so simple and so pure. And I compare it to like pure cinema, which is essentially just like cinema this is like a favorite genre of mine, so this is why I'm very nerdy and pretentious right now. And like Koyaanisqatsi is this movie. It's a documentary where it's just images and music and editing. And that's it. There's no story, there's no characters, there's no voiceover, there's no CG, there's nothing. It is just pure images and sound, and that's it. And it's just the most minimalistic possible way to show that art form. And for me, like, there was a lot of moments of playing Super Meat Boy back in the day, and even now, where I'm still just sort of flabbergasted at how innovative and creative the levels can be, and how beautiful they can be, and how well it's even if you play this game 1,000 times, it is still really, really satisfying to just go through the levels in order, because like there is still this like, oh yeah, I have to sort of relearn this a little bit and just get used to the physics and the weight of the momentum of your run jump versus your regular jump versus like how you wall bounce, or like what character I'm playing. And then you just go through each of the levels, and it really does, like, it's like these little breadcrumbs. It's like, okay, you enjoy jumping over these saw blades, so like now get this whole level of saw blades, and now we're gonna have saw blades coming up and they're moving throughout the level, and they're above you and they're below you, and you just immediately get sucked in and you just go through it. It's like if you're watching your favorite movie and you just like the structure of going through the movie. You're like, oh man, this part's coming up, this is a great part, this is a great joke, this is a great scene. For me, Super Meat Boy is the same thing, but in video game terms. It's like, oh man, I really love jumping through and just nailing that level on the first try, because that's like a really satisfying like rhythm to it, the sense of progression. It's like, oh man, I can just like run and just boom right through and nail it and go right into the next one, and you keep up your momentum, and it's great. Man, I really love Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy is awesome. And if it wasn't for the fact that the people who made this game, Ed McMillan, and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name, they're really talented, the Team Meat. The other game that they made that everyone really knows is The Binding of Isaac, and that is a randomly generated roguelike, so it's almost like you can't really do a level design Hall of Fame on that. And yeah, again, like that's the problem with this series, is like I'm trying to find more games where the level design is really great. And I'm trying my hardest, and it's like I'm playing Shadow of Mordor again, and like it's just this big open awesome environment, but like again, it's like the level design isn't the point. The point is everything else they're doing that's great. So I can't do a video on that. It's sort of frustrating, but that's alright, because watching this footage sped up, going through all of these levels and all of these colors, and oh man, those fucking balls are like with the gravity, man. Good shit. This game is fucking terrific. This is easily one of the greatest platformers of all time. And yes, I do like being hyperbolic, but no, I don't really give a fuck, because I feel like enough people will back me up on this. Everyone is really into making Dark Souls-y, Souls-like Metroidvania games. That's like the hot thing to do for 2D platformers. But I really wish people would keep iterating on this, and I haven't played The End Is Nigh, which is this team's new game, which is apparently it's like a much harder version of Super Meat Boy in a way, but it's also very monochromatic, black and white, very simplified, gorgeous, but I'll get to that as soon as I can and play it. So follow me on Twitter at Jared Russo. I hope you enjoy this video. And I hope this video goes up on the new website. FreshlyPoppedCulture.com is where these also post if you're not on YouTube. Apparently we're getting a new website. I don't know how that's going to work out, so we'll see how that goes. We're going from Medium to WordPress. But anywho, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.